So, today we're going to be showing you guys how to do Lambo doors on the Mark V Supra. There's not many out there with it done as of time of recording, and it's a little bit challenging, so we'll give you a nice little step-by-step how-to video on how to get this done. So first off, this car has an aftermarket side skirt. That's going to come off first. So I believe this one's just held on with a couple self-tappers underneath. Next step is to pull off the factory black trim, because that holds the fender on. It's also attached down there. So all that's held in with is just a few push pins. So it's a pair of movers like that. Looks perfect to get them right out. Once you get all 10 of these little clips out at the bottom, the rest of this is held in with pressure clips. So we're going to give a nice little tug. And it comes right out. It sounds like a blade hit, trust me, you're not. Next we'll move up front. We gotta move this little plastic upper fender. It just utilizes more of those plastic clips and a couple of little different ones. Put them up the same way. Alright, so once you pull the little centers out of these guys, go ahead and pop them out. Get a nice little tool, come right underneath, pop that right out. That one fell out too. And then another one in here. And one right here. And once those guys are out, just pull up on it. And it comes right off. So that gets you access to the fender. Now we got to take this second little fender off that comes up here. That just blocks off a bolt for the fender, so it's come off. So I believe there's about 10 8 mils underneath. I'm going to crawl underneath and get those off right now. So once you get the bolts out the bottom here, just pull in this corner and it'll pop out just like a bumper wheel. There's a little bit of 3M tape on the back. You just pull gently, it'll release itself. And then once that's off, it helps get a second set of hands on it. Alright, then it's off. Alright, so now we're going to move on to pulling the fender off. And it's pretty easy. Just got a few bolts and a couple plus clips you gotta take out. So you got a 10 mil right here. 10 mil right here. One in here is kind of hard to see. Hard to reach. You got a couple little push pins here. So they're pretty simple. Just a little pin in the center. Just take a pick, pop it in, you can get them when you get the fender off. And that's all of them. And then it'll pop right off. Alright, so one of the quirks by taking the fender off is the bottom corner bolt over here has some seam sealer on it from factory. So when you look under it, it'll be completely covered like that. So if you get in there with a pick or a little screwdriver and just peel all that seam sealer off so you can get to it. And then the washer is also sealed to that, so you got to break the washer free so you can get the bolt out. A little bit of quirk, but they're all done that from factory, so you will have to deal with that. Annoying, but easy to get past. Go for it. Alright, so you gotta get this little plastic cover off. So there's a couple of tabs right here. You just go in and squeeze them. and the pop right out. There's one there, one here, and one up here. Alright, once you get it out, it'll slide right up. And those are the tabs I'm talking about. Just go on, give them a little pinch, and pull it through, and it comes right off. Alright, then the last bolt is just down here behind the door. That's where I take the second skirt off for. And once you get all those bolts out, fender just pops right off. And that'll give you ample room to work. Alright, so next step is moving the door. So one of the most important parts is you gotta make sure your door stays factory aligned. You know, you want it to such smoothly, you don't want any crazy gaps. Window has to go up right. So one of the best bets is take some, good old painter's tape here. Put a couple pieces right across the gap. Alright, so once you mark it, take a Sharpie and draw a few lines across it. You don't got to be perfectly straight, you just got to match up the middle. And then you want to take a blade and very gently just cut right in the opening. Don't go deep, you don't want to cut the car. Just a nice gentle cut. When you take the door off and put it back on, you can just align these marks up, and it makes it a lot easier to get this door alignment proper. So again, that is the most important part about this. So you have to remove your striker from the frame. That is just held on by a E10 inverted Torx. So just use it right off. Now door will try to shut, so just don't get in the head. You don't want to pull that out of the way. You're going to put some tape over here because you have to close the door again, and you don't want this to dig in and rip your paint up. Take the door off. You come in here. There's the main wire harness for the door. Take a peg, a screwdriver, pop up on here, and just connects like so. And then you're going to want to take a T40 socket. Okay, so we grab the door. Have somebody hold the other end of the door. You come in here, and there's 4 bolts.
And on top of the fact that it's like just the headlights, tail lights, 4 windows. Okay.
Last one's coming off. Alright, I want all the bolts. And just take the door off gently. And place it onto something soft. We're using a panel stand. We just put some rags on here to make sure it doesn't damage the paint. So if you're working with the door panel side. Alright, so the door's off now then. Take the panel apart, because we got to take the door keep out of it. This little guy, because that's not used anymore because it can't go up with the door. So we gotta get, and we also gotta get wiring to extend, because now the door goes out farther and up. This is too short. So we gotta pop the door panel off. So the way we do that, if you look inside of these little holes, you'll see these white tabs. There's a 10 mil vents, and you turn them about a quarter of a turn and they get into grooves. So, just like that. Unfortunately, you don't get no click or nothing. You just kind of gotta look and get it the best you can. Yep, just like that. And then if you come around here, inside the handle, you gotta get a little pick. And get this little cover to pop off. tool for that. Alright, let's go in here, pop this little panel out. See there's a little indent, just hook in there, clips right out. Behind that, there's two T20 Torxes. Just pop them out. And that is all the hardware that holds this in. So now you just gotta pop it off. Remove everything. Alright, first one, take some kind of plastic trim tool. Get it right in. Try and get these things to pop. Gotta find a good sweet spot to work with. There we go. That's the sound you want to hear. Yeah. So there's one more bolt behind, a little cover behind the door handle. That is also a Torx T20. This little cover that sits in there. Same thing. Hook, pull it off with some clips. Alright, so once all your clips are popped and all your screws are out, this comes right out. Just make sure you fist that through. Come under here, that just pops right off. That's for your door handle. And then you get to unplug a bunch of stuff. Door panel's off now. Just take this, put it somewhere safe because it is fabric, you don't want it damaged. So now back to here, you need to take the speaker out because we need to access wires behind it. And that's also how you get the door stop out. So this is also 3 T20s. Zip them right on out. Be careful not to puncture the speaker. So now with that out, come over here. You got 2 10 mils on each side of the striker here. One there, one there. Just take them off. Reach in through here. Be careful because remember there's a window in here. And take it right out like that. Obviously hold on to it in case you ever want to go back to stock doors, but this is not used on the Lambo doors. We gotta mess with the wiring a little bit now. So we gotta cut this in half. That's how they want you to do it, so you can fit the bracket over here. Personally, I just take all this off and I put some wire loom on it. It's a lot cleaner of a look, if I'm being honest with you. So just take a pick, a screwdriver, something, put it in the side, and just work this gasket out. And then it'll pop like that. And then same deal on this side. Underneath. So now you gotta mess with some wiring. So we gotta pop this out of this housing because 1, this won't fit behind the new pins, and 2, with this out, you get more play with the wires. So just again, take a pick, a screwdriver or something, just go in here, pop the sides, and then pop that, and it comes right out. Just like that. And then we're going to cut this rubber off. Be very careful because there's a lot of wires in here. You don't want to nick one of them. So just take a nice sharp razor blade and just gently cut this. Alright, so there is a wire clip in here that you need to get in and pop off so that we get some extra slop out of this wiring. So just take any tool, something like this, go right on in. You get the wiring out, that's what you should have. Nice little extra slack. That's off. We will give it that later. So yep, just you got more length now. So when the door goes up, this wires aren't getting pulled and breaking. You got good length to work with. So next we move on to the hinges. Taking off the factory hinges so we can install the new vertical doors hinges. So these hinges bolt from the back instead of outside like most of the other hinges do. So you got to go into the interior. You got to take off the hood prop, which you just get in here with a pick, pull that out, and it pops right off. that will expose a T20 Torx that sits right behind here. And there, you got to pull that out. And this piece sits up top under here. There's just two little twists. Just give them a quarter turn and it'll pop out. And there's this electric connector in there, just pull that off. Then you got to pull this guy off. This sits right here. So you pull this off, and then this can come off. And after you get that, there will be a plug like this sitting back here where my ratchet's at. Right back in that little edge. After you get that off, you can use an extension and a 14mm socket to get you the bolt that sits on the back of this. Now they're all kind of snug, so you have to get a decent little ratchet to break it loose. And then break it loose and these guys will come right off. So now we're going to be removing this hinge. But first off, we're going to take this bracket off. So just zip the 10mm out of there. And that's that. So you're going to be losing a couple mounting locations for your fender, but it's going to be enough. It's not going to be a big deal. So when it comes to this hinge, there's a couple ways you can go about it. The bolt is up behind the dash. The way to get most clearance is to pull the dash out, but it's a lot of work. Another way is that apparently the company claims you can get like 3 swivels on an extension, get up to it. We had no luck with that. So the way we found to be the easiest is just to put an adjustable wrench on the outside of this, and just break it loose. It's not the best way, but it's definitely the easiest way instead of spending a day and a half pulling a dash or something like that. You guys can do it whichever way you choose. This is definitely the easiest way. So you just want to take an adjustable, put it on. It's going to take a lot of force. And break it loose like that. After you get the factory hinges off, you got to put on these adapter brackets / spacers. So a little fun to get on. These are threaded, and you got to get a bolt through the back side and then start this on it. Best way I've found to do it is to get a magnet. I don't know where mine got off to. A little head that can go through the hole, and try and help use that to fish it through. So once you get them through, you gotta make sure they're level. I'm just using a phone level, but I already confirmed this thing actually is true. So once you get that geared, I noticed the best way to get these tightened down instead of trying to fish up there is to double nut it. And then just use that to tighten it down. So now we have to do a little cutting on the body of this car. So this bracket here is going to be in the way of the mount. So you got to come in here and cut it as close as you can to flush. So we use a cutoff bit for that. Not that we do bad cuts here. But yeah, so now that's flush. We can we can get the bracket on. I'll put it on the door first and then put that over here. Alright, so this is the bracket for the driver's side here. So we're going to bolt it onto the door first. Since there's studs on the car, I can just transfer it over there easily. So we're just going to line it up here.
Searching the number
What website is this from? Look, let's go get this up, dude.
I'm just going to try and get it lined up as close as you can to the witness marks from the factory. Just
I am. Most people have a regulator on the compressor. Fuck, they don't.
Fucking compressors are like 30 years old.
That's what I'm saying. Your new compressor had a regulator on the compressor. Now my ear hurts. Now, that thing's fucking half inch line. Huh? I meant just for now, for you to imagine get you a fucking 8-9. The ones we do. I'm not talking about that big ass one. A desiccant snake's just a hoof. Yeah, I know what I'm saying.
Alright, now the door's back on. So it's time to tighten down and make adjustments to get it to fit right. So now that the door is on, we just got to make a few fine adjustments. So this screw right here with the lock nut on it, that adjusts how the door sits up and down. Screw that, it'll push the door up, push the door down. This stops it from coming out too far and hitting the fender. So if you screw that, it'll just make a longer stop. That's what this comes down to. You gotta sit here and play with it. So what you want is if you come around. So you want the marks to line up. I kind of messed mine up, so they don't really, I'm not lining up too well. But you want to be able to just close it, and it closes smooth like factory. You don't want it to be like up a little bit and catching the striker like that. You don't want that. You just want a nice smooth shut. I got a little more fine adjustment to do on this door, but that's just we got to sit here and tinker with it and get it just right so everything starts and fits perfect. It's not perfect, but it's close. Alright, so when installing the strut for this, you always want to grease the bottom that goes into there. And you want to grease this piece. And throw a little bit of red Loctite on the threads, because you do not want this backing out. And now you're going to lift the door up and try and get this to line up. Go up some more. And just like that, the strut's installed, so now the door will hold itself up. Alright, so to hold the bottom of the shot again so it doesn't just pop out, they include a little roll pin. So you just take this with a smaller hammer, you don't need nothing crazy. Just line it up with the hole. Cap it in. Alright, so that door can't overextend and pop the shock out and come crashing back down. Kind of like a little safety catch. And then yeah, that's the hinge install. Now it's got to go back to installing the rest of the body parts. So we have to put this bracket onto the side of the hinge. This is going to be a support for the fender since we cut the one out that was over here. But it hits the swinging arm. So I have to just go over to the grinder and take some out of this location right here. Alright, so now we're going to move on to getting the fender installed back on the car. Now we have to make a couple of cuts on the fender due to clearance issues. Like this tab here for mounting, this is going to be interfering with the shock on the strut, on the hinge. And the bracket that it bolts to we already cut off, so it's going to be useless anyway. We got to chop that off, and we got to make a little bit of trimming up here due to it hitting the actual hinge itself. Alright, so for this cut, we're just going to kind of follow along this little dirt line here. This going to be a good little reference point for us. Up here, we're just going to kind of just come down a little bit and go over. Really not too much of a guide to go off. We just kind of just got to go little by little and figure out what works for you. Alright, so since we installed this new bracket to hold the fender, the old bracket you cut off, you got to take the clip from, so it's going to bolt to. So you just want to pop it right off with your fingers, discard that, and then that just that just clips right on. Now we're ready to put the fender on. Alright, so after you get your fender fitted, just put all your side skirts and all back on like they came off. Very simple. Comes back in, couple bolts. Simple. So next is the plastic cover that sits over the wheel arch and the fender. Now due to the arch hinge, that sticks up past, so we're going to have to cut out a little bit of that plastic in order to make it fit. So come over here. So we're going to have to roughly cut out about here, cut a square, cut up, and cut a slot out of the back here. So we'll make a couple cuts and we'll show you what it looks like afterwards. So I got the cut done. As you see now, it just pokes right through that, fits nice and snug. So then this is ready to be clipped back on, and we complete that. Just got to put the hood back on. You don't have to take the hood off of yours. We just did it on this one. We found out that you don't have to. So that's something you don't have to worry about doing at home.
Hello. Yo.
Alright guys, so one thing that's unique about doing the Lambo door conversion on the 2020 Supra is that the washer bottle is in the way of the hinges. You have a few options. One, you can cut the side off of this, take it off, turn it around, and put it back inside and then glue it and seal it up. Another option is just to fully delete it, don't run it at all. You won't have a check engine light or anything, it'll just keep saying, well, washer fluid on your dash. There's no big issue. And you need to keep a squeegee with you to clean the windshield if it gets dirty. Or the third option, like a lot of customers opted to go for it, is that you find an aftermarket smaller washer bottle that you can put in place. We don't have it yet, so we cannot show you the installation of that, but we will in the future. So those are a couple options, and then when you're cutting this, you have to be careful of the mounting tab location. You have to cut at a slight angle to avoid cutting this off so you can still mount it in there. And then you just gotta cut it off, turn it around, stuff it inside, and find some kind of good sealant to seal that up. There's always a possibility it can leak. Washer fluid does contain alcohol. Alcohol will dissolve a lot of sealants, so that's just one thing to worry about. But yeah, so you have a few options to do on this. Alright guys, do everything right. That's how it should look in the end. Should go up flawlessly, shouldn't hit anything, and it'll look awesome. Thanks for viewing. You'll see any other cool stuff. Subscribe and stick around.